Hi guys, Squintina here, and today I'm going to go over my Scholar controller setup. First, I'm just going to have an overview, and then I will get into details. So, Hotbar 1, we've got Broil III, Biolysis, Aetherpact, Ruin 2, Indom, Excog, Recitation, and Lustrate. On the other side, Art of War, Adloquium, Whispering Dawn, Physick, Fey Blessing, Energy Drain, Dissipation, and Rescue. On the Expanded, which is using both triggers at the same time, we've got Succor, Ruin 2, Emergency Tactics in place, as well as Repose, Heal, Stay, and whichever summon you prefer. In the double, we've got Etherflow, Change Stratagem, Lucid Dreaming, Summon Seraph, Sacred Soil, Consolation, Surecast, and Fey Illumination, as well as Swiftcast, Resurrection, Deployment Tactics, Asuna, Limit Break, Emergency Tactics, and 2 spots for potions, whether it's ethers or tinctures. Alright, so that's it for the quick overview for those of you who just want to see it and go. But now I'm going to start the actual in-detail explanation. So first, let's organize. I'm going to empty my bars. Then, I'm going to place each action on a hotbar. I will then separate them by whether they're GCD or off GCD. Then, I will try to separate them further by category, such as whether it's offensive or healing. And let's not forget about Sprint and Limit Break too, I almost forgot them. Alright, so let's get started. First, we're going to work on the GCDs. This is because I prefer to put my GCDs on the action buttons. So first, the attack ones. We've got our Broil, our Ruin 2, and our Biolysis. Art of War will actually go on the other side. This is for a variety of reasons. One, I still want to keep Art of War on the primary bar, but I don't want to put it here. And that's because, while Art of War is definitely used a lot in dungeons, when you get to 8-man content where you usually have one boss or one target, that slot is better reserved for maybe something to heal the tank, because if you are using your D-pad or anything else, it will be easier to have something there. Then you might be thinking, well then Succor's gonna go over here. Well, the thing is, with Succor, you don't have any targeting issues, which means you can afford that extra press of going to the Expanded, plus you don't actually need to see it, so it's fine to put it there instead. For our single target heals, I will put them here. Once again, they are GCDs, so that's where they go. Now we have a few more GCDs, but they're more specific, so because of that, they don't technically have to go on the action button. First, Resurrection. This one will go on the action button. We use it certainly plenty enough. Asuna will go right next to it, well, next-ish. Limit Break is kind of a GCD, I guess, but it's something you want to use, you know, only when things really need to be used. You don't want to accidentally use it when you don't need it, especially as a healer. So it's going to go on the D-pad in the double. So that leaves Repose and the summons. Repose, well, it might be a GCD. Let's face it, it's only useful in very specific contexts, such as Palace of the Dead if you're doing it solo. Because of that, it will not get a action button slot, it will get a D-pad slot. With the summons, you don't really need both. So for the sake of having enough buttons, I would recommend just picking one. But this is my expanded. That's set number 2 is my expanded, which is when I use left and right together. And so I can do like, oh, well, if you're doing right and left, you get Selene, but left and right, you get Eos. Since they functionally are the same, it still counts as being the same. It's up to you. So now we've got all of these OGCDs. So, where do they go? So once again, I was talking earlier about how if you're in a raid, you're probably doing a lot of attacking, but you do have to sometimes heal, whether it's a tank buster or an AoE. Well, we have so many OGCDs that using a GCD sometimes feels like a waste. So that's why, since Rune 2 is here, you will actually get a really good speed if you put some of your OGCDs, especially the common ones, right next to it. So we're going to start with Recitation. Normally, if something is 90 seconds, I prefer it to be on the double, but because of the fact that it combines with things, I'm going to keep it on the primary bar. Got our Indom and our Excog. Lustrate is not affected by Recitation, but since Excog is here, having Lustrate on the opposite side just feels smoother, and so that's where it's going to be. And here is where I'm going to put what I consider to be our single target regen, because I do want this to go well with the other healers, and I have sped up for them as well. So that's going to be where Aetherpact goes. So then we've got a few other ones. Whispering Dawn's going to go over here, so that way if you want to do AoE heals, you got your choice of Indom, you got your choice of Whispering Dawn, before you even have to get to Succor. Energy Drain is going to go right here. This may look like it's going to be awkward, but it really isn't. Just try it out, you'll see it's fine. Another AoE heal, Fey Blessing. It has a huge recast, 60 seconds. I mean, I guess it's not, 90 or 120, so it's not so bad. But having it on the top, which is what I originally did, actually made me forget to use it. And so having it here, even though it's on the D-pad, makes it easier to see. Rescue is not used super often, so getting this particular spot, which is the D-pad left, which I am going to do a video based on what's considered most accessible, least accessible, and things like that. That D-pad left is considered relatively not super accessible, so that's a perfect place for rescue. We're also going to put Dissipate here, because D-pad down has a similar issue. Now, Dissipate's actually pretty strong in this expansion because it automatically gets your fairy back, and so that means it's not something to have to remember to do, which was the issue with it in Stormblood. But we still have a few more to go. So we don't have any GCDs anymore, but we still have face buttons, and ideally we want to put things in there that are fairly useful. So Aetherflow, good choice right here. Change Strat, Lucid. Now, I know a lot of scholars don't really appreciate Seraph, but it can be a very strong shield because it's stacked with the other shields, so I'm going to put it here as well. But if you have to use it right away, having Constellation right next to it, so that at least even though you're switching hands as far as pressing the final button, you're not switching triggers, is right there. But if you don't have to do it right away, then you just come back to your double during your next set of GCD. Fey Illumination I want to make sure was close to Sacred Soil, and this is because, as part of this expansion, Fey Illumination, which as we know increases healing done, actually does affect the new hot of Sacred Soil, despite that it's listed as an ability. The hot it does is actually considered a spell, and so it's affected. Emergency Tactics is special, in the sense that we're going to have it in 2 places. Technically 3, but that's only technically. So we're going to put one here on the expanded. Make sure to put Succor there as well, so that these are the same, right? So that way it can be partnered with it, and that's considered our big heal if we have to for a GCD AoE heal. For a GCD AoE heal, we do have other big heals that are better than our OGCD, but if you for some reason have to, maybe you're solo healing, there it is. But that means you can't see the cooldown. Admittedly, it's a very short cooldown, so you don't really need to see it, but in that rare case when you are solo healing something that's of a higher difficulty, maybe you do want to see it, and so I'm going to put it on the double, not to be pressed, but to be seen. So that's why I guess that D-pad left slot. Only a few more to go. I'm sure you can guess. Swift cast should be near Resurrection, so that if you want to use it, there you go. Deployment Tactics will get one of the few spots still available. And Surecast goes on the D-pad because, well, it is something you want to make sure you hit when you do need it. You also don't want to accidentally press it when you don't, so it's not really meant for the face buttons, the action buttons. It's better on the D-pad. Now you might be thinking, what about Sprint? Well, I don't put Sprint on my bars. This is here as a reminder to let you guys know that I use macro 99 for my Sprint. Yes, I know macros are bad, but unfortunately, that is the only way to use Sprint on the click, is to use macro 99 or 98. Go to button configuration and then set your macros here. So, I have mine set to 99, so it is my right click. For 98, because I am a healer main, I do have a macro specifically meant as a healer main target, and that's my targeting macro, which will set my target to focus, and the reason is because since sometimes I do occasionally have to use GCD heals, that means I might not be targeting the enemy anymore, and therefore I can't see their attacks very well because the enemy list has a very short space for the enemy cast bar. Focus target, while still shorter than the regular one, is longer than the enmity list. So for those bosses where they're using attacks that have very similar names but just the end changes, having focus target is very useful. But then the real part is where it does target, target, target. So if I am targeting the boss and I click, it will go to the person who's currently holding aggro, which should be the main tank, ideally. This can make having to use something like Excog or Adlo very fast because you're just left clicking to get there. The remaining 2 spots are for potions, whether it's an ether or a tincture or whatever else you need, that's what it's for. Of course, we've got our pet orders. So, we're going to make something very specific. Place, we get its own spot right here. Heal and stay will go together. There we go. I'm going to repeat that on the other side. I never did repeat repose, so let me make sure I do that. And so that leaves one action. That's it. Only one action. Now if you want to put something specific to you, go right ahead, but one thing I do care about is being active, which means let's say you are using that succor or you are summoning and you realize, oh right, I have to dodge, and you want to keep that active time. You could put a Ruin or an Art of War, Ruin 2 specifically, or an Art of War there, if you want to have that instant, if you do realize at that moment, oh, I have to dodge. I personally put Ruin 2 because it matches with the Ruin 2 on the main bar. And that's it. Everything's taken care of. The next job I'm hoping to do is White Mage, and hopefully I will have that for you guys soon. Leave any comments if you have questions, and I will try to get to them. Alright, bye!